Last week, Donald Trump was super upset about the fact that he didn't have a horde of supporters show up and protest his criminal trial in Manhattan. In fact, on the very first day of the trial last Monday, when everything kicked off, there were only about 50. And as the week went on, that number of 50 just continued to get smaller and smaller and smaller. And then as other protests for other issues erupted across New York, Donald Trump looked around and said, okay, well, it's not for a lack of people, right? There's tons of people over here protesting. There's tons of people over there. And I've got a handful of wackadoos outside my courtroom. This is not acceptable. So on Sunday, Donald Trump got on Truth Social and was reduced to begging his supporters to show up and protest his criminal trial. Here's what he put on Truth Social. Why are Palestinian protesters and even rioters allowed to roam the cities, scream, shout, sit, block traffic, enter buildings, not get permits, and basically do whatever they want, including threatening Supreme Court justices right in front of their homes, and yet people who truly love our country and want to make America great again are not allowed to peacefully protest and are rudely and systematically shut down and ushered off to faraway holding areas, essentially denying them their constitutional rights. America-loving protesters should be allowed to protest at the front steps of the courthouses all over the country, just like it is allowed for those who are destroying our country on the radical left, a two-tiered system of justice. Free speech and assembly has been chilled for USA supporters. Go out and peacefully protest, rally behind MAGA, save our country. The only thing you have to fear is fear itself. Now, it's true that the protesters who are in favor of Trump have not been allowed to protest on the courthouse steps, okay? It is a state office, okay? You cannot block or impede entry to the office. Like that's always been a thing. So instead, it's like, hey, you just can't do it on the sidewalk right here. We actually set up a safe area over here where you can do it. Like they're literally trying to protect the pro-Trump people. They're not putting them far off to the side. It's just like, hey, just move over here a little bit and you can do it. The problem is not where they're located, Donald. The problem is that you just don't have people who want to show up. And let's not forget that last Friday, one of the people who showed up set himself on fire. So, when you've got people doing that, it's kind of hard to get more people to want to come out. I don't think people are going to be lining up to be like, hey, let's see if somebody, sets themselves on fire today. Hey, let's see if somebody jumps in front of a moving car. That's insane. But what's really driving him crazy is not the placement of the protesters. It's the fact that, again, he's looking around New York City. It's like there's other very big protests going on, very publicized protests. And he's got just a handful of some of the weirdest people we've ever seen. And that makes him very sad. He is not happy with his pathetic showing. But it's not because people aren't out there. It's not because people aren't outraged about issues. They're just not outraged about his issue. Oh, you may see it online, all these Trump supporters. This is a travesty. It's an attack on democracy. But those online people ranting and raving to nobody don't really matter, do they? All that matters is who shows up. And right now, Trump's people are not showing up, which is why he now has to beg them to get to New York so that he can at least feel a little bit of love.